Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. So it is a very short day because I have to go to a market this afternoon, or this evening. I basically have to be there from 2 o'clock to set up. Then I probably won't get home until about 11 because the market closes at 10. Then I have to somehow get my vehicle through the chaos of all the other vendors trying to pack up my stuff, and then get out of there. So I only have a few hours in the shop. Then I really don't want to have a very long video to have to edit when I get home. So we're gonna make this nice and quick and simple. And I know that I said in yesterday's video I was gonna do some testing today with Osmo. I'm gonna put that off because I actually want to make some stuff to bring to this market that I'm going to this afternoon, and that is some rolling pins. Because funny enough, the one product that I've actually reliably sold at most markets that I've brought them to is rolling pin. It quite literally is I'm just taking a piece of 8/4 stock, throwing it on the lathe, turning it around, and then selling it for 45 bucks. And I can't keep them in stock. That's the ridiculous thing about them. And that is quite literally the thing that has started covering the cost of my tables. So we're going through making some of these rolling pins. I'll talk about some of my experiences with some of these markets, different things you want to look out for in that. And I'll give you guys overall my opinion on whether or not you should go to these markets, because it does vary quite heavily. And I've actually got some useful stuff that I've learned over the summer here that might help you guys out next summer. So probably not the greatest timing for putting out this video, but it is what it is. All right, so that's our first rolling pin done. That took all of 30 minutes to kind of get everything set up and get in place. So all the ones after this should be pretty quick. So I sell these rolling pins for 45 bucks at the markets, and like I said, that they actually sell pretty good. They're the one thing that I've had to actually remake over the past couple of weeks here to keep them in stock. I don't know what it is, but the one thing people seem to appreciate at these markets is wooden rolling pins. So if that's what's going to sell, that's what I'm going to have to make. Plus, they are pretty fun to make, and for 30 minutes of turning time, and I would say maybe a couple bucks in materials, I can easily make 45 bucks. So far rolling pins have been how I've covered my tables for the last few markets I've gone to. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm making a ton of money when I'm going to these markets, because I don't want you guys to fall into the trap of going to these markets. The only reason I got into doing the markets over the summer here is because quite literally everyone I talk to about, when I say that I want to be a woodworker, I want to sell furniture, I want to do this kind of stuff, people tell you, get into markets, get your products in front of people. If, you make a really good product, if somebody is there and they can buy it, they will buy it, and you can make a lot of money. And what I found over the summer here is that that's just not true. What'll happen at a lot of these summer markets is that you're just getting a lot of people that are browsing. A lot of these markets are very community focused, so people will just kind of go out for the evening, wander around to their local market and wander through. They're not really looking to make a big purchase. And most of you guys who follow me here on YouTube are woodworkers. We can't really make cheap stuff. If you're gonna make like a nice charcuterie board out of like walnut or something, the cost of your materials there is like 20 or 30 bucks. You can't sell that for anything less than that and still be able to make money on it. So that's the hardest part about this, is people don't really want to spend a ton of money at these markets as it is. The other part of it is people are not really looking to buy cutting boards and charcuterie boards in the summer. Again, I should make it very clear, I'm talking specifically about summer markets. Christmas markets and that are a completely different story. There, people are actually going to buy stuff, so you're probably going to do better if you can get into those. But specifically with these summer markets, people don't really buy things like a charcuterie board for themselves unless they really, really like it. Like most of the ones that I've sold over the summer here are because someone just saw a piece of wood and was like, I love this thing, I need to own it. It's those really impulse buys that you're going for, but the majority of people are not going to want to buy it. The other thing is that these cutting boards and that are fairly heavy. So all these people that are walking to their local market don't want to exactly carry them home. I have this beautiful end grain cutting board that I built a while back that I've been bringing with me at every single market. And every single market, I have multiple people people be like, oh, I want it, I want it, I want it. And the thing about that end grain cutting board is it's 3 inches thick. It's, I forget the actual dimensions, but it's a heavy cutting board. So I'm sure that people just come to the decision of, well, we don't want to have to carry it home, so I'm not going to buy it. So that's the big trick here, is because a lot of people are walking to these markets. You got to think of products like rolling pins that are nice and light. You know, you can throw it in your grocery bag and it's not that big of a deal. Something like a charcuterie board or a butcher block cutting board, you know, bigger items are not as likely to sell. We got 4 rolling pins all ready to go, all freshly finished. And if I can sell all 4 of these, that will cover the cost of my table, if nothing else. So that's probably the biggest thing I want to talk about when it comes to these markets, is that one of the common misconceptions is that the more you pay, the more people you're going to get access to and the more money you'll make. So for a little bit of comparison, I've been going to a few different markets this summer. One market I've been going to every single week, and it costs 40 bucks a week to just go and sit there and sell some stuff. At that market, I'll make anywhere from 0 sales to about, I think the most I've made is 3 sales. But at that market, all it takes is selling 1 charcuterie board or basically 1 of these rolling pins to cover the cost of that table, that $40 table. Because like I said, I sell these rolling pins for 45 bucks. There's about maybe $5 or $6 in materials. With these walnut ones, it might be a little bit more. But overall, if I can sell this for 45 bucks, I'm not making any money. I'm just making the money back that I paid for that table. So I can sell 1 rolling pin, then I'm good. Whereas the other market that I went to all summer, that will happen once each month, and I did that for 3 months, that table cost 180 bucks. And at that market, except for the one where everything went wrong and, you know, we had a massive windstorm and I ended up leaving it early. But at the 2 that went well, I made, I think 6 on one day, and then I made 8 sales the other day. But the big difference there is, even though I'm making way more sales than I'm making at the small market, it quite literally scales perfect. I'm only just barely able to cover the cost of my table at both the small market and the big market. So the market I'm going to today is the biggest one I've gone to so far this summer. The table cost $200 for the night, which is absolutely ridiculous. I've got one more of this same market next weekend on Saturday, so we'll have to see if this one is more worthwhile. You know, this is one of the biggest markets in Calgary, one of the biggest local markets in Calgary. So I do have high hopes for it. As I've already seen from the markets I've been to, it doesn't really matter if you pay, you know, exuberant amounts more of money. You're gonna kind of stay within the same ballpark of sales. If you're just able to cover the cost of your table at a small market, it's gonna be basically the same thing, but scaled up at a bigger market. Even though at a bigger market, there's gonna be more people around, you're gonna have more interactions, you're gonna have more chances to sell stuff, and you're probably gonna make more sales. You also are paying a hell of a lot more for that table. So it really is a balancing act, and I have not been able, over the summer here, I haven't been able to find where that balance is, because there's so many things I've heard from different vendors. And I think one of the most interesting things is, as I've been sitting at these markets not really making sales, I've been talking to other vendors, people who are selling stuff like soap, pottery, t-shirts and that, all kinds of tons of random stuff. And most people doing these markets are not actually making money, which I think is the saddest thing about this. Is that I think you get a lot of people like myself that buy into these markets thinking, okay, I've got a good quality product, I've got it, I've got it at a very reasonable price, something that somebody would buy. And you show up to this market and you're thinking that if I show up to this market, I've got a good product, it's at a good price, people will be willing to buy it. And I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people that are going to these markets are not actually going to shop. So it's just one of those things. I'm not trying to talk anyone out of going to these markets because I do think there is some stuff you can learn from them. Obviously, going to that one market that I've been going to every week, I managed to get a king-size bed commission from that. And then from the fact that I got this one, I also got the other one. So that did pan out pretty good, but that was more dumb luck rather than actually, making the market worthwhile. But that also is a very important factor of going to these markets. If you are, if you're doing a similar thing to me where, on the side, you're kind of making, some rolling pins, some charcuterie boards, cutting boards, that kind of stuff that you're trying to sell online, but your main goal is to be a furniture maker, markets are great because you can advertise your services, you can show off pictures. I always sit there with my phone and I just go through, I'm like, yeah, here's some of the awesome stuff I've built, and people seem genuinely interested. So I've handed out a lot of cards over the summer. Again, it's very unlikely that the majority of it will pan out. But again, if only a few of the people reach out to me and are like, hey, I need you to build me this such and such a thing, that will have made the markets more worthwhile. So I'll have to see kind of in the long term how it pans out, once we get through the summer and that. And especially a lot of people have mentioned that, when they see my products, they'll keep it in mind for, around the Christmas season. So I've handed out a lot of cards. I've told people that I usually have a sale on my website around November so that people come back and, do all their Christmas shopping on my website, hopefully. So I really wish I had a more definitive answer as to whether or not going to markets in the summer is a worthwhile thing. In most cases, I would say no, I would recommend against it because it's very much so a gamble. And for me personally, I hate gambling. I don't like risking money for something that could turn out badly. Like I said before, the other more expensive market that I was going to, I went there 3 times. The first and the last time, it was just fine. It was just a normal market. I made a little bit of money. But the second time, right in the middle there, we ended up getting some horrendous weather. I only made one sale that day, so I didn't even come close to covering the cost of the table. And I ended up leaving, after like 2 hours of this market. So that was a massive waste of time, money, and all that, because there's a lot of expenses that go into moving all this stuff down to the market location. So it's stuff like that. So if you've got a little bit of excess money and you want to take the gamble of getting into a market, trying to sell your stuff, then it might just be worthwhile because, again, you can advertise that you're a furniture maker. You can sell some of your products. You do have the opportunity to make some money, which is always a good thing. But it's very important that before you get into it, you understand that you're gambling. You are 100% gambling here because things could either go really well or go really bad. I could go to this market tonight that I paid $200 for the table and not make a single sale. Nothing here is in my control, and that is one of the worst things about it. If you guys have any questions about summer markets and that kind of stuff, feel free to leave them in the comments down below or just contact me directly. I'm happy to answer them because it's just one of those things. I made a really bad financial decision at the beginning of the summer because of a lot of really bad advice I've gotten from people that are close to me. So I want to, so if I can help other people avoid that kind of an issue, then I'm more than happy to. So as always, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.